Hello everyone, how are you? My name is Sam. Have you heard the phrase, "you're gonna need a bigger boat"? Well, it turns out that this phrase can be applied to gaming. Mainly, you'll need a bigger, beefier Android device to keep up with the most demanding mobile games. Unfortunately, contemporary mobile devices have a long way to go before reaching the technical prowess of home consoles. But that doesn't deter developers from squeezing every ounce of graphical fidelity, showing high-end mobile device capabilities. While most games aim to encompass the widest spectrum of devices possible, others like to challenge your vertical investment. These games are often reaching new heights when it comes to the smoothest gameplay and graphics. After all, these trending best Android games highlight the platform's capabilities, which is why we've rounded up the best-looking high-graphics Android games to ensure you'll put your flagship to good use. Number 10. Black Desert Mobile. Black Desert Mobile brings the popular MMORPG experience to Android and iOS devices. Any RPG worth its salt features vast worlds ripe with characters and side quests, as well as dungeons to explore. Black Desert Mobile doesn't disappoint in that regard. Being multiplayer focused by its nature, this genre tends to tax the hardware with countless characters and visual effects populating the screen. Simply put, you need a fairly capable device. While Black Desert Mobile is not as demanding as Alien Isolation, you'll still need a device with at least 3 GB of RAM and Android 6.0 or higher installed. Number 9. Dead Cells. Dead Cells has received many awards since its release, not to mention the plethora of nominations. It's a roguelike 2D action platformer with elements of Metroid and Castlevania. It's also one of the best indie games to come out in recent years. Being a 2D game, Dead Cells sports simpler visuals, but it supports a silky smooth 60 FPS mode that works a treat. And you can even bump the frames higher than that if you own a high frame rate device. Dead Cells boasts a low price of entry at $9, and you can also get it as part of a Play Pass subscription. With frequent free updates in the form of new enemies, weapons, outfits, and more, you're certainly getting a lot of bang for your buck. Number 8. Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact has become one of the most popular games on mobile platforms. It combines the vibrant visuals of Ni no Kuni with the wondrous open-world gameplay of Breath of the Wild. But instead of taming cutesy creatures or playing as a green tunic-clad Link, you guide anime girls across a vast fantasy world. Anime makes everything better, right? It may not be the most resource-intensive game out there, thanks to its artful use of cell shading, but Genshin Impact's anime visuals easily pop with color and depth, even if you don't crank the settings to their highest. Genshin Impact is considered among the best-looking games when it comes to bright and colorful aesthetics.
Oh, so freeze!
Number 7. Grid Autosport. Racing games are historically among the best-looking, and screenshots for Grid Autosport tout console-level visuals. While that might be an exaggeration, the 100 cars and tracks featured in the game sure look exceptionally great. Grid Autosport has a less restrictive list of devices to run on, so long as they have at least Android 9 installed. But you'll still need a fairly hefty storage space of 4 GB. Grid Autosport stands on par with heavy hitters like Real Racing 3 and Need for Speed No Limits. But with Grid Autosport being a premium title at $10, you won't have to worry about annoying microtransactions. A one-off payment gives you access to one of the best racing games on Android. Number 6. Life is Strange. Wouldn't it be cool if you could control time and change the outcome of certain situations? Life is Strange's Max Caulfield can do that. She uses her unique powers to protect her friends from harm, all the while investigating the mysterious disappearance of one of her classmates. Life is Strange pulls you in with a gripping narrative, branching story paths, and multiple endings. Every choice you make leads to consequences, both favorable and detrimental. The Android version comes with full controller support and includes a photo mode that takes advantage of Max being a photography student. And while it's not the most visually demanding game out there, you'll still need a device running at least Android 6.0 with 2 GB of RAM.
And no filter needed before I post this. Now please move.
Number 5. Real Racing 3. With series like Need for Speed and Burnout under its belt, publisher and developer Electronic Arts is no stranger to racing games. Real Racing 3 ups the ante by offering over 200 vehicles, from exotic hypercars to speed kings like formulas and stock cars from NASCAR. You should get a good idea of how well these cars look just by checking out the screenshots. But in case you're in doubt, even the product page for Real Racing 3 emphasizes that it's a resource-intensive game. And unlike with Grid Autosport, you can download it and start playing for free. Number 4. Shadowgun Legends Online FPS. With games like Dead Trigger 2 and Unkilled under its belt, developer Madfinger Games is no stranger to high visual fidelity. Shadowgun Legends is the most recent addition to the company's portfolio and touts itself as a console-quality first-person online shooter. It's hard to argue with that statement, because everything in Shadowgun Legends, from weapons and enemies to the surrounding environments, looks like it could belong on a console. Replace zombies with aliens of various sizes, and you've got yourself a looter-shooter akin to games like Destiny. Similarly, Shadowgun Legends allows you to partake in online PvP and PvE battles with raids and arenas while wielding over 700 different weapons. Number 3. Sky Children of the Light. If Sky looks like the 2012's Journey, it's because both games share the same developer. Sky is an open-world MMORPG that focuses on human interaction. No shooting and no explosions. Just you interacting with and assisting other players from across the globe. It's an experience that encourages you to spread light, warmth, and compassion throughout the game's world. Explore 7 unique realms, interact with other players, or even bring them along on your travels. Much like the studio's previous projects, Flow, Flower, and Journey, Sky is bursting with vibrant visuals. Number 2. Undawn. Undawn is an open-world zombie survival game often compared to Life After for its themes and high-level graphics. The game runs on Unreal Engine 4. Games using that engine are often designed with higher-end devices in mind. And if you boot up Undawn, you already know the game is visually impressive. Undawn offers highly realistic graphics. The character creation is incredibly detailed, with custom facial expressions, in which you can clearly see the gloss on the lips and the details of the pupils, and your eyes will dilate with incoming light. And if you look closely at the clothing textures, you can see the creases in the fabric. So overall, Undawn's graphical assets may be one of the high points, but this is more than just a pretty open-world game. It will still have all the difficult and gruesome trials you'd expect to see in a post-apocalyptic setting. So, better get your device charged and ready. Number 1. Wuthering Waves. One of the most demanding new games is Wuthering Waves. It is so demanding in performance that most mobile devices don't feel fine playing at high settings. Part of it is an optimization issue, but the other part is that it is also naturally tough on Apple and Android devices, even for high-end ones. Since a considerable aspect of the game involves fully loading an open world and all its textures, coupled with real-time action RPG combat cinematics, it can seriously stress test your device. But if you can get Wuthering Waves working well, the graphics and gameplay feel phenomenal. The only downside is that this game is much better served on a controller, which it never launched with. In the developer update, Kuro mentioned that controller mode would launch for future mobile versions, so here's hoping. Only some games on Android can reach the visual fidelity of Alien Isolation, but racing games, such as Grid Autosport and Real Racing 3, have led the pack by a fair margin. But there are other ways to stress test your hardware than turning up your graphics settings. Single-player games like Genshin Impact can recreate open worlds with impressive draw distances, offering breathtaking views at any angle. Then, throw in some multiplayer games like Sky, Children of the Light, and Black Desert Mobile that test your device's performance with player load. And maybe by the end of this roundup, you've realized you bought the best device for improved open-world experiences. Luckily, Android has some great titles for stunning open-world games to get lost in.